Thank you so much for coming. We're going to go ahead and get things going. I know we've got several people here, so if you could, we have plenty of room at the front. We have some chairs here in the front. Please scooch forward as you feel comfortable. We're so excited. This has been a long time coming. I know that you all probably feel that and more. Commissioner Deggs, I want to make sure we've got him headed up. There you are. All right. There you go.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I do appreciate everybody turning out today. Is it not great weather? I tell you. I wish I could take credit for it, but it doesn't work that way. But we're here. We have a great opportunity for us today. We're going to cut the ribbon on this great piece of infrastructure. Thought I'd give you a little bit of info about it, though, just to kind of talk about where we are. I do want to thank, I know we have a lot of dignitaries here, but John Clement and Jay Strombino, representing Senator Blackburn, they're in the audience here. Hey, guys. Braden Stover, Senator Haggerty is here, and Patty Carroll with Congressman Green. Hey, Patty. So certainly our congressional, and Senate delegation there are critical in funding transportation, and we appreciate all that they do for us. Their counterparts that support them here in Tennessee are really, really good to work with. So let me tell you a little bit of a story. I mean, we all know that looking at Mac Hatcher and looking at the ring road around the city has been something that's been on the minds of the people of the city of Franklin for a long time. I know when I first started to work for the department, the eastern part of the Mac Hatcher Parkway was under construction, and I was actually out here piddling around. It makes me feel old, but I was here when we were building a little bit of that. So, but in early 2007, the mayor of Franklin at the time, John Schroer, came to visit myself and a few others at TDOT, the commissioner at the time, and said, the Mac Hatcher Parkway on the west side of town is very important to the city of Franklin, and what can we do to accelerate the delivery of the project? And they came in, as so much as the city of Franklin has done over the years, is said, hey, we're going to put money where our mouth is. We're willing to bring some dollars to the table. So shortly thereafter, we started with the environmental work on this project. These are federal aid jobs. There's a lot of history and cultural resources in Williamson County and in Franklin in particular. And so a lot of the environmental work that we did on the project was critical. So we put a citizens resource team together, lots of activity going on the project. The engineering and right-of-way phase for this project totaled about $19 million. Lots of money just to design and buy the right-of-way. The city of Franklin brought $5 million to the table through some resources that they were able to pull together. They managed the design phase of the project. Consulting firm of CDM Smith did the design work. CDM Smith guys are out here somewhere. Whoops. And so then we moved forward, and we were able to get the project to contract. It went to contract in December of 2018. And Utah Construction Company was the contractor. Are the Utah guys here? Where are they got? Hey, guys. Shout out to the Utah guys. They did a great job. I think that y'all have seen that the project construction really went well. I know we've had some consultant work helping. TDOT did the main inspection on it, but we had Volkert and Associates. Where's Volkert guys over here? They did a lot of the work on the project as well, as far as helping us do the inspection work on the project. So about a $45 million construction contract. By the time you add inspection activity costs and stuff on that, about $50 million. And so to date, we've got about $69 million in the project as we stand here today. A lot of people say, well, what about change orders? We had about a little over 1% in change orders on the project. It's a very, very, very low number for a project this size. And it was delivered by the original completion date. So when we advertised this project to contract. We said it's going to be finished by November 30th of 2021, and the Utah guys were able to meet that schedule, and it's really appreciated. So with this is, we bought the right-of-way for a 4-lane divided highway project. We built 2 lanes now, so when we come back at some time in the future, when traffic growth warrants, we'll be able to get the other 2 lanes in. By building 2 lanes now as opposed to building all 4, it allows us to spread the love across the state of Tennessee. So elsewhere in the state of Tennessee, other projects got built rather than just building one big job here today. Everybody's seen the big bridge over the Harpeth River. One bridge crosses the same river twice. It's kind of an unusual bridge, but it's a nice bridge, and I think that it's a kind of a showcase for the city here. Again, it's part of a loop. The environmental work that we've done actually goes all the way to the south of the city. We have not budgeted any funds for continuing on to the south here. We did include in a piece of legislation the southeast quadrant that's already 2 lanes, adding another 2 lanes there. So in the next few years, we'll see that project come up now. Also, the multi-use path on here, the city also stepped up and said, we want an enhanced multi-use path. So the city put $1.25 million toward that multi-use path as well. So the city put like $6.25 million into this project, and that's a good way to kind of tell state government we're excited about investments in our community. Again, as I mentioned, Commissioner Schroer, when he was the mayor, along with the city aldermen and council, said, hey, we need to get something going and get this project built. We're seeing a lot of growth on the west side of town, and they knew that traffic was going to be an issue. This section here, I think there's a little connector that a non-TDOT entity is going to build to do a little bit of connection into the local road network, but all the way up and around we're all done. And this great improved connectivity is going to allow for more economic growth in Williamson County and the city of Franklin. So great project, and at this time I'd like to introduce our former commissioner and your former mayor, John Schroer.
I'm gonna trip. Thanks, Paul. It's been a long time since I've been in front of a microphone. 3 weeks. But the last time I was at a road presentation was in January of 2019, and we were doing the groundbreaking for McHatcher, and it was a week before I retired from McHatcher, and I said then that, well, it's adage is it's better late than never, and that was true. That was our last groundbreaking and Governor Haslam's last groundbreaking, and I want to talk about how this project really got going, and it has to do with our former governor, Bill Haslam. He had a vision about infrastructure and transportation and how important that was, and he talked to us at TDOT about what we need to do, and really what we needed was more money, and that's pretty usual for government to say they needed more money, but that nothing had been done in adding more money to transportation in Tennessee since 1993. And the governor said, we've got to do that. He said, now I think that's a second term deal. He didn't want to do it in his first term because he wanted to get reelected to the second term. And so we worked together with the governor's staff, and we came up with the Improve Act. And the Improve Act was a plan to add money to the coffers of the state, and it did include a gas tax, and it was not popular amongst a lot of people. But I want to say that our legislators, Jack Johnson, Charles Sargent, and Sam Whitson, worked tirelessly to get not only it locally, but to get this passed in the House and the Senate. In the Senate, it was a little bit easier sell, Jack, but you led that charge, and we were happy about that. In the House, it was difficult. And Sam and Charles worked very, very hard. And I'll tell you, the vote in the House, I've got it was 60 to 37. And I think every one of the 37 that voted no were Republicans. with the Republican governor. And so it was not popular. We got it done. It was revenue neutral. There were some gas taxes and there was reduction of taxes, and so you all were not really being charged any extra money. And what that did, that created 962 projects that were not going to be funded anytime soon to get built under the Improve Act. And Mac Hatcher was one of those. And it was high on our priority list. And I'm going to have to thank, I can't thank everybody here, but I want to thank Susie Alcorn, who worked hard, tirelessly with the legislature to get this done. And it was a project that was really, really important to this region. And it talks about, and those that voted for it really had to take some political courage to do that, because there were a lot of people that weren't in favor of this. And it wasn't in favor of this project, but wasn't in favor of raising more money. But infrastructure is what we operate. Infrastructure brings businesses to communities. Infrastructure is why the Ford plant is spending $8 billion in West Tennessee, because they had the infrastructure to make it work. We have so many businesses that move to this area because we have sufficient infrastructure to do that. And I'm going to have to say, and it's not necessarily very popular, but I'm proud of our Congress to pass a national infrastructure bill. They've been working on it for a long, long time. They hadn't done anything with it, and those people that voted for that took a lot of political courage to do that. And it will add about $250 million a year to the state of Tennessee, which is what the Improve Act did in the state of Tennessee. And I will say as a sideline, when we went to Governor Haslam at first, the number that we told him we really needed was $500 million. Isn't that right, Paul? Where'd you go? $500 million. We got half of that. But the National Infrastructure Bill will give us the other half, and so we can continue with the progress that we've been making since the Infrastructure Bill in Tennessee was passed, and you will continue to see a lot of orange barrels around this. And so, again, I want to thank our legislators, Jack and Sam and Charles, for getting this done, because without those three, I'm not sure this would have passed. So I'm going to sit down from that, but thank you all very much for being here. This is a great road. I will say, I live about a half a mile west of here, east of here, whatever, east, and I can tell there's already been a difference. I can get out on Highway 96 now. And, you know, and my daughter lives over here, and she says it's now cut 10 minutes off her trip into downtown Nashville. So, you know, it's nice to see. Normally when we did roads, they were in places we weren't a lot. It's nice to see the immediate effects of some work that's been done. So congratulations to TDOT. They've done a great job. To the contractors, the consultants, not a lot of complaints that I know of, and you all did a great job. So we're proud to have this part of it, and I'm proud to have been a part of that. Thank you all very much.
Well, again, thanks our former commissioner and former mayor. I did want to also mention, I think I touched base a little earlier, you know, this was a federally funded project, and Pam Cordenbrock with Federal Highway Administration's here. She is the state administrator for the Federal Highway Administration. He's the head fed from my perspective. I do appreciate all she's done. Ken Moore, Mayor, will you come on up and give us a talk? The Mayor has tirelessly supported transportation initiatives in Tennessee. Mac Hatcher certainly, but others as well, working with the Nashville MPO. And so, Mayor, come on up.
Well, thank you, Paul, and thanks for those comments, Commissioner Schroer, Mayor Schroer, and former Alderman Schroer. As I was looking for what I was going to say, I started out to just read from Genesis 1 in the beginning, and I said, well, maybe that's not appropriate. But then I came across another one which I thought was the night before Christmas. And so, Merry Christmas, Franklin. There's so many people that have come into play, and Commissioner Diggs and Commissioner Shore both have mentioned many people, but I'd like to start out personally by thanking our Board of Mayor and Aldermen. This project transcended several boards, but if you're a member of the Franklin Board of Mayor and Aldermen, or are you a alderman during this process, please let us recognize you. We love taking credit for great projects, but we also know who is in charge at the city, and that is our staff, who work tirelessly to make sure that this project moved forward along with TDOT and all the other parties. So if you're a member of the City of Franklin staff that was involved with TDOT, please raise your hand and let us recognize you. This is such an important project for our community, and I'm glad to hear that already we're seeing some relief of some of the traffic patterns that we've seen. So we appreciate the opportunity to have this investment in our community, and we'll continue to move forward with other projects, working with TDOT and participating as we can. So thank you very much.
And thanks, Mayor. Now I'd ask Rogers Anderson, our county mayor, to come up and give us some thoughts. Again, Mayor Anderson works very closely with Mayor Moore on the Metropolitan Planning Organization, is kind of how we work together to get transportation projects moving. Mayor?
Well, thank you, Paul. I want you to know something very personal. That we'll love you a lot better, and you don't have to spread it as much. You'll go ahead and do the shovel diving this afternoon, right out here. We're all ready for that next extension to come about. No disrespect to my counterparts across the western part or the eastern part, but we'll really love you, Paul. Let me say thank you to so many people, Franklin for being involved, but to TDOT for jumping ahead of this and making a part of that. And John, thank you so much for the direction you gave during your tenure up there. But a special thanks goes to Nancy Sargent for allowing us to have her husband up there for so many years and becoming a mainstay and a person of high integrity, a person that went up there, didn't forget where his roots were at, and for what he did. And a little bit later, you'll see that recognized in a bridge being named after Charles. And Nancy, thank you for sharing him with us. And in all seriousness, this will make a huge difference as our county continues to grow. During this last 10 years, we grew approximately 35%. Most of that was in the Franklin and the Brentwood area, but Nolensville and Spring Hill. Our community, our county continues to grow. It grows for a lot of reasons, but there are people moving here from all points of the United States. They found a place that we call home, that we call heaven, and it's because of projects like this. They just need to come faster, and they need to be more pointed when they can possibly get here, Paul. Thank you, though, very much.
Well, I haven't been told too many times that we're too slow. So, Mayor Blatton? Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So usually I'm here as vice mayor when Ken's not here, but we're both here today. And I just want to thank TDOT for allowing me to be here and participate in this program and celebrate an idea that's come to fruition. Everybody's talked a lot about the semantics of the government and the politics, but for me, as I sit here and look at Nancy, it's about Charles for me. And I think for a lot of you guys in this area are friends with Charles and already know his deep contributions to our community. But I prepared a few things I just want to skip across for those of you who aren't, because I think it's such an honor and a privilege, not only for Nancy, but his children and granddaughters that are here today, to know that Granddad was a really big deal. Charles, he was a big deal. Charles was a New York native who made his way from Tennessee in the late 70s, and he was a true servant leader who began his service in the community as president of the Grassland PTO. How glamorous is that? He went on to found the Grassland Athletic Association with his best friend Rogers, and actually Rogers and Charles and a couple other past politicians called the Grassland Mafia would meet every day at the old CY Market. Those experiences would pave the way for him to run for county commission, which he did and served 6 years. And then that springboarded into him becoming a state legislature for the 61st District, where he served 22 years. Exactly. Charles was a consensus builder. He had no problem crossing the aisle, and it wasn't about political party. It was about getting things done and about serving his community and the state. He was passionate about education, preservation, and he had the mathematical prowess that served him well as the chairman of Finance, Ways and Means for the last 8 years of his time as a state legislator. I have the hardest time with those two words. I really hoped Governor Haslam could be here today because he could speak wholeheartedly to the important role that Charles played in not only setting us up as a state to have the rainy day fund that we did, but the debt that we do not have like other states across the nation. I'd gone to the Hill with Charles several times, and it was always funny to hear people, Chairman, Mr. Chairman. But to those of us here, his down-home ways, we all just knew him as Charles. He and Nancy, not only did she support him in all the ways that he served us, but together they supported our community through nonprofits and different things that they always attended, making sure they were front and center and approachable for those of us around us who needed them. I do want to make sure that I recognize his family here today. I'd asked Nancy to come up here with me, but she sat back down. But Nancy, if you'll please stand. Nancy and Charles were married 41 years, and they also worked together at their Green Hill State Farm Agency, so that's some true love right there. David is still standing already. David, his wife Cindy, please stand up. Savannah and Adeline, the apple of his eye, and then of course Margaret and her husband Dave. So Charles, the anniversary of his death was November 13th, and it's been 3 years. In a lot of ways it feels like yesterday. His loss is still felt here locally, I know for me and statewide, and I'm so glad that he is going to be honored and memorialized with the naming of the bridge. You know, I thought about the significance of the fact that it crosses the Harpeth River twice, and to me, it symbolizes his love of family and his love of community, but it also symbolizes his tenure both here on the county commission level and as a state legislator. Got it. So, I definitely want Savannah and Adeline, I know you're not driving yet, but what's so great is that for the rest of your lives, as you traverse your house to wherever you might be going, you can show people and your friends, that's my granddad. So, Charles was a true statesman, but the best thing of all, before he died, he became a Southern gentleman. So, I'm going to ask Sam Whitson, who did not want to speak, but I get to be the heavy, go figure, and I'm going to make Sam come up here and say a few words. So, thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you, Brandy. And again, great seeing so many friends and citizens out here today. And I just want to say, this shows what government can do when we work together. Teamwork. I learned that in the Army. Jay and I did years ago. That teamwork, you can do anything and everything. Nothing's impossible. And when you think about the relationship with Southern Land Company, the city, our aldermen, our mayors, our county leaders, and the folks at TDOT and the state. They made this happen. It was teamwork that made it happen, and teamwork will get the rest of these projects built. And with that, I would like to ask Nancy and Charles' family to come up as we dedicate the bridge, the longest bridge in Williamson County, by the way, in honor of a great Tennessean, Charles Sargent.
We get the, so Beth, you got the ribbon there?
All right, just a second. Ready?
Everybody pretend first.
And